everybody. On behalf of TiE Dubai, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome everyone here today to yet another TiE virtual session. I would like to repeat a few details with our audience. Nelio left Dubai to join a community of digital nomads in Chiang Mai, where he met some incredible humans building million-dollar businesses without investors, offices, nor physical teams. During this time, he worked with the laundry startup Washmen, which in 14 months, without a team, grew more than 5 times and closed a multi-million Series B. Facebook even built an official case study on their growth. Now he's focused on helping companies build a strong online presence with proven playbooks through his agency, Urban Monks. Without further ado, Nelio, the floor is yours. We can actually launch an audience survey if you wish at the beginning, or you want to do an introduction. I leave that to you, Nelio.
Yes. So thank you very much for having me. I'll start sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Okay, now yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me. It's really amazing, and I'm super excited to be here because today I'm really going to walk you through what is like a proven process to start or migrate any type of business from offline to online. As long as it's something that you can sell, this framework will apply to you. So just a little bit of background on me, and thank you very much, Cicely, for the introduction. So my name is Nelio, and this is pretty much my story. As Cicely said, I started my career back in Paris at Chanel, and then in L'Oreal. And then in Paris, my boss in Paris sent me to Saudi to work pretty much on the Saudi Arabian market, and that's when I met the founding team of Careem. And back then, it was just really a random startup. We were just like 8 people, and they told me, Nelio, you seem to be really good at marketing, so why don't you join us? And that's when I joined them as their head of marketing. You know, it happened so fast, but in 2 years, we scaled the team from like 8 employees to 3,200 employees, and from just 1,000 users to 34 million users. And last year, Uber bought Careem for $3 billion, and it actually became the first tech unicorn of the region. And after my experience at Careem, I decided to join a group, as Cicely mentioned before, of digital nomads to understand and to deepen my knowledge of what online business means, how to build businesses online. And there I met like a lot of different people that started their own businesses with just a laptop, embracing this laptop lifestyle when remote work and remote first businesses was not like a thing. Now with the pandemic, it kind of became like the norm, like we all have to kind of work remotely. But back then, when I started in 2016, 2017, remote first was not something that was on top of mind. People were still like focused on building businesses with cool offices. There was still like at Facebook the campus culture, Facebook or Google. Well, after my experience as digital nomad, where I started really understanding how to build those online businesses without employees or just remote employees, without like having an office, where basically everything could be run by a laptop, for me became super exciting. And when my friend Jad asked me to join Washmen as their head of growth, I really wanted to apply that same playbook that I've learned in digital nomads to Washmen. And Washmen, it's probably one with Careem, one of my proudest achievement when it comes to growing a business, because that's when actually we scaled the business from, you know, just like, you know, for like very small startup to a proper SME, like a very solid $6 million funded business. And it was amazing because I didn't have a marketing team. Everything was done through remote and everything was done through online. So it was just basically just me and an intern to drive the marketing and the growth for for the startup. And we did that and awarded a case study from Facebook as well. After that, I've been pretty much doing a lot of different things. I deepened my knowledge of growth hacking and growth marketing with Sean Ellis himself. Met him, worked with him as workshop. Just learned through him at the workshops. I even had like different talks as a speaker, as a consultant speaker. I had my first TED talk on growth hacking and data privacy. And then the most important thing, I started bringing up a team of like a super team of growth architects from all over the world. We work as a collective, and we started Urban Monks, which is a growth architects collective. We've worked with different companies. This is what different people say about us, but now enough about me. It's more about you guys and all the value that you guys need to have with this webinar. So the reason why I'm here, it's because I really want you to understand how to migrate your business online. So if you join this webinar, it's probably because you are a business owner, you have your own business, and please write in the chat what kind of business do you have. If you are a business owner, if you are a digital marketer, just let me know what you guys are up to, so I can
poll, Nelio.
Yeah, sure.
It's a good time to find out who's who.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, join the poll and let us know what kind of business you have, what is your profile, so I can tweak also my speech according to you guys. So the interesting aspect of building an online business is really to follow a very specific playbook. And like, you know, when it comes to this is the agenda and how we're going to structure things. We're going to answer the question, why now? What is marketing 2.0? What is growth engine? And then I'm going to give you the 5-step playbook. Ready? So let's do it. So why now? Okay, 2020 is the mayhem. Pandemic started, everybody freaked out. There was like a lot of pressure on businesses, small businesses, a lot of traditional business failed. Like Thomas Cook, or a lot of other like big businesses really failed. So what's really scary, right? And you may ask yourself, like, is it even a good moment to start something? Well, turns out that what data tells is completely different. Why? Because between 2019 and 2020, the jump of something like e-commerce, for instance, increased by at least 140%. In 2020, 65%, we've got an increase of 65% of influencer budget, according to Adweek, on the top 50 Fortune's 500. Amazon recorded the record increase of year on year in its traffic. And basically the retail orders in the US, for instance, increased by 145%. So if this is your vision of the pandemic, well, for e-commerce, it turns out to be like this. It's an ocean of opportunity. It's starting now. And it's just really an impressive historical moment to be in, because this is the time where if you haven't yet migrated your business online, it's really time to start build your own presence. And I'm going to show you a case study as well on how with one of our partner, we work together to really help them establish their online presence. So when it comes to yes?
Yeah, I'm just going to share the results so you have an idea on the profile.
Sure.
Of who.
So yeah, entrepreneurs and small, medium-sized business. Perfect.
And
employee.
Like the industry that's mostly present here. We have several: e-commerce, AI, robotics, but e-commerce, education seems to be the majority.
Education. Okay, fine. Well, this is more about it's more about e-commerce, but it's the exact same playbook that you can use for any type of business and any type of industry as well. Amazing. So let me go back to so when it comes to marketing, things get pretty messed up. Why? Because you think, okay, e-commerce is booming, online, digital is booming, so growth will just come as long as I do something, it's gonna happen. I'll just run a couple of ads on Facebook and guess what? It's going to happen. Well, it's not that easy because the channels get crowded very fast. If it were 2013, yes, probably a couple of Facebook ads would work. Now it's becoming more and more complex because you have a plethora of channels that need to work in sync. If you don't have that sync coming in, if you don't have that growth engine, then it becomes you won't see the same effect. So and this, imagine it was in 2015, and look how many channels are starting to crossing, merging, how many channels are starting to rise faster. In 2020, it's even more complex. And then again, there's so much that is going on in terms of SEO, SEM, UX, UI. So there's a lot of confusion, and especially for someone that has not been exposed to the digital world, starting a business online, especially at the beginning, there is a very steep learning curve that might take you up to 2 years. So, so why growth instead of marketing, and why growth is the new marketing? Well, spot the difference here. This is a marketing manager. This is a growth manager. Do you see the difference? So the difference is that a marketing manager, a traditional marketer, focuses on visibility, spending a lot of money to just be visible and to increase that share of mind, top of voice, whatever you want to call it. Whereas growth focuses more on penetration. So penetration is really understanding how to get into a market, how to, with a very strong iteration process that is called high tempo testing, that is data driven, measurable, and impact driven. So growth, yes, is the new marketing. And as you can see, in order to succeed in such a complex thing as growth, you don't just need to be a smart marketer or a smart copywriter like you needed as a traditional marketer. You need a whole level of skill set that goes from front-end coding. You need to understand that, like design, UX, UI, behavioral psychology, analytics, SEM, SEO, paid social, the algorithms, how the algorithms of the different platform works, how email marketing works, how PR and influencer work, and all of that. So you need to be much more agile, and this is what we call the T-shaped marketers or the growth architects. And basically, also what's very interesting is that marketing has become a tool-based skill set. Tool-based skill set means that you need to master your tools. Imagine it's basically like becoming a mechanic. Marketing is becoming such a tangible skill in 2020 that if you don't know how to use your tools, well, if you're a mechanic and you don't know how to use your tools, well, you're going to be a very bad mechanic. So marketing in 2020 is a tool-based skill set where you actually need to master the tools. And if you're looking to hire a marketer, if you're looking to become a better marketer, well, just keep in mind this: if you're looking to hire a marketer, you need to evaluate the mastery of his tool sets. So this is the new face of marketing, the new marketing professional figures, the growth architects. Growth architects are people like in my team where we work all together and that are basically very cross-disciplinary marketers with strong digital experience and a very broad array of skill set. So this is our growth architects collective, Urban Monks. And this is what actually growth architects do. They build growth engine. Growth engine are really like a cohesive strategy to create and optimize a customer journey throughout the full funnel. And then we're going to use tools to track, measure, and improve every step of the funnel and create like an amazing experience that is branded, that is edgy, that is very compelling for customers. That's how you will increase your sales. That's how you will increase the impact. This is pretty much what a growth engine looks like. And then we divide it in different stages. But I don't want to spend too much time on this. I just want to really tell you that we've A/B tested this. We have like a generic digital marketing approach, very like running some Facebook ads on a landing page. And then we had this more growth architecture and growth engine approach. And we've seen with one of our clients, like an incredible results simply because there are more elements of the engine firing at the same time. Okay, so enough about theory. Let's then just jump into the 5 steps playbook. So in order to build a growth, like a growth engine, and in order to really migrate your business online, you need to follow these 5 steps. The first one, you need to identify the offer. You need to understand what kind of offer really works online and what kind of offers will not work online. Because just keep in mind that most of your products will most likely be sold either on Google or on Facebook slash Instagram slash TikTok. So they need to comply to the algorithm of these different platforms. If you don't comply to the algorithm of these different platforms, if you don't embed them in the user experience of the platform, well, guess what? It's not going to work. So you need to identify products that will actually really well embed into the platform that you're working on. The second thing, you need to start building an early audience. Why is it important? I'm going to tell you, because this is one of the steps that most marketers and most digital marketers actually fail to do. What they do, they just like run a couple of ads on Facebook. They identify an audience through the ads manager. But before doing that, if you don't want to waste too much of your time, you need to build an early audience even before starting to advertise, because you need to gather insights on why your product is so unique so that you can position it better, and so that your marketing message and your positioning and your branding is actually data driven. It's not out of your own assumptions that then you test and then it doesn't work. So what you need to do, you need to gather data to then build a data driven branding and marketing positioning. Then the step number 3, you need to attract influencers. You need to have like a clear database of influencers even before launching the product. Yes, you don't do influencer marketing after launching the product. I mean, you also do it after launching the product, but it's going to be much more effective if you do it in a pre-launch phase. Then the step number 4, that's when you structure your commercial offer, your commercial strategy, how you're going to sell this. And that's when you go into persuasion techniques, into like proper sales. And then you, sorry, there's a typo here. It's not structure the offer. And then that's when you start running the ads. So let's start with number 1. Step number 1, identify the offer. So how to identify a product or offer that is going to work on digital. So let's say right now you are an education business. So you provide, let's say, courses for people to go to the US. I don't know, something like this, to go and be accepted into an Ivy League school or something like this. Well, in order to know if your product or offer is actually it's going to work, it needs to have like very distinctive feature, or it needs to solve a very specific pain. So if your product or offer doesn't answer to one of these 2 questions, then the product is not going to work online. Because this is true even for offline in general. This is like generic market, but online it's amplified, because the online space is so crowded that you need to be either super distinctive, like your product has some distinctive features that stands out in a snap, or it needs to solve a pain so clearly and so seamlessly, solving a pain that it's gonna pretty much stop people doing what they're doing to buy your product. So just keep in mind that the user experience, the human mind, when we are interacting on social media platform or searching things on Google or checking some content, is completely different from when we're going in a store, in a mall or something. Because in a store, we already are there to purchase something. Whereas when I'm on social media, I'm just scrolling. And when I'm typing on Google, I'm just looking to educate myself. Just 40% of searches are only purchase driven. 60% are mainly information driven. They're looking for information. So well, what does it mean, a distinctive feature? So let's say, let's take some donuts, okay? So donuts, these donuts are super generic. Distinctive are these donuts. So there has to be something in the design, in the value proposition, in the wording, in whatever that is, or like even the position, the ingredients, anything that is super distinctive, that makes it look completely different to anything anyone has ever seen. If you have something like this, then you need to go online. If you don't, then you go to the next box. You need to see if this solves a problem. I don't know if you've seen this. It's been like on Instagram for like a long while, especially during the peak of the pandemic. It's basically this thing that you would actually see how you can open doors, and you can just like, type on things just not to touch because of the virus. So this clearly solves a clear pain that you actually thought of. And every time you were in the elevator, you're like, okay, maybe like let me do with the elbow, or let me do something. And then when you see this, you say, haha, you need the haha moment. If you don't have that haha moment, then you pretty much, your product is not solving a pain. Is not solving a pain that is very clear. So this is super important. If you don't have one of these two characteristics, then your product online has no chances of surviving. It's just a question of ecosystem. It's a question of like, really, you need to adapt to that ecosystem, to that digital ecosystem, to that digital environment. Step number 2, build an early audience. So I'm going to give you an example that we did with one of our clients. Basically, we started with a list of 125 potential early adopters for a skincare company. Okay, so we've asked the founders to ask all customers, people very closely involved with their offline brand. We told them, hey, would you like to join like a sort of early adopter list? So that, we can ask you questions, you can test the product, we can, just like for 2 weeks, we're going to send you the product, and you just need to review, to really tell us what you think. We're going to send you a questionnaire, we're going to call you. So just give us 2 weeks of your time, and then we're going to give you the product for free. We're going to give you a package of product for free. Plus, we're going to give you then an offer to buy your product for a year long for a very cheap price. More than 100 people responded to that. And we've created this with another of the urban monks that works as well as Google, where basically we created 2 critical variables of behavioral segmentation. And basically we've created like clear survey to understand and really to have that behavioral segmentation really super granular. And the 2 big questions that we wanted to answer is who you are and why do you like this? Basically, these are like the 2 main big questions. And then we pretty much scatter them in 10 questions. In the who bracket, you're going to have psychographic, household income, age group, gender, social category, and whatnot. And in the why behavior, and in the why bucket, we have like more the pain and needs, the desired outcomes, achievement, challenges, objections, hesitations, all of that. Super important. This is super important that you do it in your pre-launch phase. Most of the brands, they don't do it when they migrate their business online or when they launch their business online. Then we did like a whole drip campaign, copywriting and drip sequencing for them to respond. This was all the automation workflow, everything we've done to make sure that they responded to the survey, to the calls, that they would engage during those 2 weeks, because those 2 weeks is the moment the most important, because that's when we collect the early stage data. And this is the outcome. So we've understood the persona, like the average persona, the average buyer persona that was really excited about the product. And we were also very excited because we understood really what we call the problem story fit, how our story fits into the problem they have. So we've understood what were the key pains. We understood what were the key unique selling proposition, the unique features that justify those unique selling propositions, and then the end benefit that they would get and that they would love to have because of the skincare. And then we managed to clarify the positioning really, really well. So we were like, okay, this is called the Camel Milk Face Rescue Cream. It's not available offline. It's not available in retail. It's just available online. It's the world's first camel milk skincare, natural, simple, beautiful. And and as you can see here, this now becomes a super distinctive product because it's the world's first camel milk skincare. Like, wow, like I never thought like camel milk could be used in skincare. And what is camel milk, and why the virtues of camel milk? And then all these questions start to arise in someone's mind. So they want to know more about the ingredient, why camel milk is so important. And that's where the position is very unique. This is the distinctive feature of this product. That will make your thumb stop. So then the third step is to really attract influencers. So this is why we did it before actually launching, because we want to create something that is called scarcity. Scarcity, it's the art of pushing out a product that is not readily available for everyone, so that if you want it, you have to kind of fight for it, which is a bit counterintuitive, because at the beginning, if you want to launch, you want everybody to buy it because you want to make money and you want this to be like a successful launch. But in order for it to be successful, if you do not respect the rule of scarcity, which is a sort of rule of gravity for Earth, the same in bringing your business online, you need to have a rule of scarcity. And that's when you attract influencers, because influencers is a sort of VIP circle that only the top influencers, etc., are able to access it. So if you're just a normal consumer, you're going to ask, where can I find it? Oh my God, I want to test it. Oh, no, but you can't. Then, okay, so how do we attract influencers? So basically, I'm gonna give you this technique that we use consistently for Instagram. So we go on a big page, the one from Huda Beauty that has like almost 50 million followers, which is almost the size of the Italian population, which is very interesting. So then you go into tagged. And there you're gonna see like a lot of different micro influencers that are gonna tag Huda Beauty because of the you know, whatever, because they respond to that. So here you know that all these micro influencers that are tagging her are interested in beauty. They have some influence, like they're smaller, of course, because Huda Beauty will never review our product, but a smaller influencer, like a micro influencer, will do. And she doesn't need to have like millions of followers. Like even if she has just like 5,000 followers or 3,000 followers, it's fine. Like you don't need, like, follower count is not that important, because what you need to do is to do it at scale. So we've collected, I think, around like 1,200 micro influencers, and we start seeding the product. So started like sending the product, saying, hey, can you do the review? You can keep it for free, and then we're gonna tailor it. It's like, oh yeah, great product. So it wasn't that difficult to write about. Awesome, let's build this brand together. So influencer marketing, and I'm never gonna be tired enough to repeat this, comes down to build meaningful relationship with influencers. It's not about, so if influencers are asking you for money up front, don't, like, it's not the right game. Influencers marketing, especially like because it's something that's so social, it's more about being part of a community and building something together rather than being paid for a service. So if an influencer asks you for money up front, it means that it's not respecting the rule of the first rule of influencer marketing, which is build meaningful relationship. I can tell you something, with some of the influencers, I personally became so like good friend that we chat even during downtime, just like a chat. If we have like, I don't know, a dinner at home, we might invite her. So with some influencers, like, you really need to build that super strong relationship. If you don't have a meaningful relationship and it's only dictated by money, even their following and even your following will see through that. The more meaningful your relationship with the influencers will be, the better your product will sell. And this is what we basically build. We build like a thriving community of micro influencers sharing their experience of the product, reviewing it. Some even had like around like 2,000 likes. Other really reviewed the product. From all sort of ethnicity, all sort of walks of life, because this is a real skincare for real people. So we really wanted that to come out from the diversity of profile. And all of these influencers, we handpicked them one by one. We went and looked for them and reached out to them. So, and we didn't pay a dime. We just sent them the product because they wanted to test the product, and they were genuinely excited about the product. If there's no genuine excitement about the product, and if there is no emotional connection between the influencer, your product, and your company, influencer marketing is not going to work. It's just going to be a lot of money down the drain. Okay, so now we've attracted influencer, and now we need to structure the offer. Okay, now we go into another part of the marketing T-shape, of the growth marketing skills, which is more influence and sales. So I'm pretty sure you've already been online, you've already transacted, and you've seen these kind of things all over the place, right? So you've probably seen like, hey, buy this, and this is like a special price today, and what. So what I just want to say is that those are very like they're standard techniques that are used to increase conversion. And there's so many, right? There's so many. Everybody calls them their own. We at Urban Monks, we call them like the 3 techniques. We always use the 3 techniques, one of the 3 or all of the 3. We A/B test them. Like we always use one or the other. And one is like the Godzilla Basket. The second one is Are You Dumb? And the third one is the hook. And then we A/B test and we see which one works the best. For the first strategy, the Godzilla Basket, is basically to give them access to 3 different options. One, it's like there's pretty much like nothing. It's like super small and it's very expensive. It's something that nobody will buy. You just keep it there because and you can. There's an amazing book that's called like I think The Art of Persuasion from Cialdini. And it's amazing because it tells you that when you negotiate with someone, and this is as well like you're going to see in all like sales playbook or whatever, is that when you ask someone to do something, when you start with a statement that they will never accept, because when people are evaluating an offer, they feel obliged to accept one offer. So you put different offers. This one, for instance, we know that nobody will want. This one, maybe. What we really wanted, we wanted to increase average order value. So we suggested the Godzilla Basket. We probably knew that nobody would buy the Godzilla Basket because it's like way too much for a launch strategy. It's like 350 dirhams for like 3 of them plus a soap. I mean, it's a lot of product for a brand that you've never heard of. But we wanted to increase the average order value and we wanted to give these 2 options so that you're like, nah, okay. So that you do not discard everything. You just pick one, but you have the feeling to have a choice. And worse that it comes, people would actually buy this. And actually a lot of people bought it. The strategy 2 is the Are You Dumb strategy. So the Are You Dumb strategy, it's basically you're giving 2 options. One is a huge value deal, and another one it's like it's a deal that is super shy compared to the second offer. So basically what you're going to do is like, hey, you can buy 1 bottle for like $35, or hey, you can buy 3 and you can keep them for like a long time and it's like 45, just $10 more. So what does that do is that it increases the average order value and it pushes people to convert for like bigger offers. So, and basically if you just buy the 35, what would you ever buy it? I mean, like you would actually feel very dumb to buy 1 bottle at 35, whereas you can buy 3 bottles at 45. And then the hook. The hook is always giving something free. So it's like, hey, do you want like this free book? I'm gonna send you this free book. Like, just give me your address, and you just need to pay the shipping cost, or I don't know, this transactional fee of like $2. But then you're gonna have this super valuable thing for free. And you're like, what? Yeah, well, then you're putting your credit card on file, because this comes back to another sales strategy that is as old as sales is, where it's basically you need to get you need to get people to spend their first dollar with you. Once they spend their first dollar with you, then it's going to be much easier to upsell and to increase the demand. But if you are asking them to buy something that is like $300 all at once, people get afraid. If you ask just $1 now and then $299 on the second ask, the chances of increasing conversion, it actually jumps from 30 to 45, 50%. And then 5, you amplify everything with ads. So then you need to drive traffic to these places. And remember that problem story fit? Well, we're going to merge this with the influencers' pictures and influencers' videos and influencer review. And then that's when the magic happens. That's when a lot of people started seeing like it's very user generated, it's very organic. People love it. There's a lot of people that share this because it looks like content, doesn't look like an ad anymore. So you are 100% sure that your ads won't be ignored. And you can apply this to anything out there, any sort of product, any sort of service, anything that you would like, where there are customers that buy something. And then from there, you like probably build like a full growth engine where you have like an entry point, you have a landing point, you have a data strategy. We haven't spoken about data strategy because it's not really the theme of the session today, but we have full workshop on data strategy that we could do another time. And then doing like conversion loops with the referral campaign, email sequences, always going back to all the collaterals that you built throughout the process. I hope this was valuable to you. I'm now here open for all sort of questions. I'm excited to be here and respond to all the questions you have. Thank you very much here from having us. And thank you very much from the behalf of all of our collective.
Thank you, Nelio. Thank you for that wonderful session. I'm actually going to allow people who raise their hands to actually ask questions instead of just in the Q&A button. We do have a couple of questions in the Q&A button, Nelio, if you want to have a look at it.
Sure.
I think Rajesh, there's a person, Rajesh Sajnani.
Yep.
If you can ask your question. Okay, Rajesh.
Hello. Hi, Rajesh. How's it going?
I'm good. Actually, it was a mistake, but now since I have been caught off guard, so I will ask a question. Hello?
Sure. Yeah. I'm all here.
Yeah. So most of your examples and what you said was very relevant for a consumer product, or I would say for beauty, makeup, or even for fashion. What about businesses which are B2B or which are tech, or something where you're solving a business problem? What kind of strategy works? Is a similar thing works there, or you have to change a bit, or like what kind of difference we would say when you're targeting different set of customers?
So for B2B strategies, there is a slightly different tweak to the playbook that you need to use because B2B doesn't have to be boring, right? If you inject the same mindset that all the consumer marketers have injected into consumer marketing, you inject it into B2B, your B2B brand will automatically stand out. B2B, the only thing that you need to insist even more is to insist in the value of the community. Look, for instance, at an amazing B2B tool like a B2B SaaS like Privy. Privy has done an amazing work, and it has used this exact playbook here. So what they've done, they've simply interviewed like all sort of since they solved, they're a platform that solved problems for e-commerce owners. I'm not really sure like what it is specifically, like maybe to like check their analytics and come up with like I don't know what kind of solution is it, but these guys, so since they are in the e-commerce space and they're solving problem for e-commerce people, what they did, they interviewed more than 30 top e-commerce founders, and they've created a book, and they've launched this book by email marketing. And with all these different pieces of content, they started then pushing these pieces of content everywhere. So then people like, oh, this is by Privy. And then in the end, this Privy is like everywhere. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same thing. You need that list of early adopters, like a list of early adopters. So first of all, you need to have like a super distinctive feature. Your B2B product, you need to have something that is super distinctive about it. What is it? Is it the design? Is it the brand? Is it the positioning? Or it has to solve such a critical problem that it stands out. The second step, you need to build an early stage audience. You need to have early stage audience to test the product, beta testers, get the review, get really what kind of problem your product solves and how to position it better. The third aspect, you need to start having influencers, which is exactly the same. What Privy has done, they pretty much went and interviewed all these like super top guys into e-commerce that started like e-commerce businesses that are multi-million-dollar brands that started with a Shopify store. And well, that's like an influencer game in another form. And then what they did, they're just going to take all that content and then they're gonna just amplify it with ads. In their case, more than ads, it will be more like sponsored content or content itself. Does this replies your question?
Yeah, thank you, Nelio. It helps.
Nelio, I'm going to take two questions from the Q&A, and then we have a couple
Sure.
of people raising hands as well. The first two questions look similar. What are the 5 most effective touch points for growing a marketplace advertising website? The second one as well says they specify their company. What do you think is the best way to reach all talents in Dubai to accelerate the growth of our marketplace?
So I would have to look more at the specifics because it's pretty much too much of a generic question, and I don't want to give you like generic advice. So I'm not really sure what like the specific of the platform, the specific of the question, because it really it ultimately really depends on the details of your product offering, of what you stand for as a brand, and as well on what type of digital strategy and budgets you have in place. So like the generic advice I would give you is build a community. Like this in 2020, and as I showed you right, like in the playbook, marketing is mainly driven by communities. And the more we go forward with this pandemic, with the world changing, etc., the more the world is going to work through communities. So build your own community. If you don't have a community, if you don't have an audience, if you don't have a community, you don't have a business. So if you haven't done that already, that step, I think 4 or 3 or 4 of the playbook, then you need to focus on that. But then again, I don't know the specifics, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay, so I'm going to let Pramod talk. Here's a question.
Sure. Thanks so much. So, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Pramod. Thank you and welcome.
Yeah, hi, Nello. So that was very helpful. And in fact, your answer to the earlier B2B was also helpful. So I'm founder of a B2B SaaS company. And in this pandemic, we have, in fact, turned over a leaf and taken our business online. Okay. Before that, it was completely offline. A typical B2B SaaS, right? Now, so 2 things. 1, we have taken the business online, and second is we started our international outreach. And as we speak, we have, partnerships going in multiple countries. Obviously, early days, been 3-4 months. Now, my question is, so I have a very clear agenda to make my product, which it's TrueMe. It's an identity and access management ecosystem that we are trying to create based on, contactless and digital. Yep. So my question is, 1, how do you build community for a B2B SaaS product? Because, by definition,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, because by definition, a B2B SaaS product would be, it's not the most interesting thing in the world, right? So building a community. So that's one. And second is, for an international outreach, what would you suggest? Couple of, top 2-3 strategies you would think should work? Thanks so much.
Yeah, Pramod, that's an amazing question. Thank you very much for asking. And I can tell you, you can pretty much create community on every single aspect, like on anything that is like a living element, you can pretty much create a community on. So if you are, I don't know, like right now, for instance, we're working with one of our clients in the US. It's a mid-market payroll HR system. So I mean,
Mhm.
payroll HR system, it's not the most fun topic. Yet
Yeah. Yeah.
we have managed to create, and we are managing to create like a very thriving community and very thriving content around that. How do we do this? We've done like a webinar series with people that we actually were very inspired in the scene, people that are doing progressive things into the HR community, people that that are working on progressive projects, people that, so because we really wanted the brand was operating since 1983. So
Mm.
that was very outdated, and they had through a whole refresh of the product, and then they called us to say like, guys, we need to, like, they call like the collective to say like, hey guys, we need to make this brand super fresh, super progressive. All of our like client and prospect think of us as like a super old kind of 1980s brand. So how do we create that? And this is the exact playbook we did. So we've identified what were like the distinctive features of the product. Then what we did, we started understanding who are the top influencers in payroll, HR, HR, team management, and all of that. And then we started
Mhm.
understanding these people who inspired us. And then we started interviewing them. And by interviewing them, we would release like this session of podcast. And there's a lot of actually HR people that started that started to look at the podcast, and then the YouTube channel became like a thriving like a thriving little community where everybody could speak, everybody could give opinions, and till the point where now they're hiring like their internal community manager, because now there's so much community, like really day-to-day talking with people, etc., that we don't want to absorb that, so they're hiring internally. So what I'm just telling you is that yes, even on something as boring as HR payroll systems, that is very process heavy, it's very sometimes very outdated, and there's a lot that people can say, people can learn, and most of it you can build a lot of content for people that actually want to get better at their jobs. So you're really solving a problem for them. So
Interesting.
Pramod, my answer to you: start with content. Go heavy on content. Content is the new currency, especially in the B2B market. I can tell you, B2B SaaS market in 2020 is dictated by content. Content is the new currency.
Interesting. Very interesting and very helpful. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pramod. Next question, I'm going to take it from the Q&A. Can you please elaborate a bit more about the survey for building an early audience?
Oh yeah, there you go. So I have like it took us like a long time, and we are in the process of building like a whole blog post about it, because there's a lot of people that ask us the details of that. So I've built that with Martin Weiss, founder of analyticalmarketer.io, and part of the Urban Monks Collective. He's a Googler, and basically his perspective, and fellow growth mentor as well. So his perspective was like, Nelio, if we need to like properly segment the audience and understanding, we need two things. We need the who and the why. So the who, we need to understand if there is a pattern around the people that are very close to the brand now. Like the 100 people that are closest to the brand right now, who are they? How old are they? Where do they live? What kind of things do they have in mind? Who are they? If you would have to say like a stereotype, an archetype of that person, what would that be? The second is the why. So what are they looking into the product? Why that product is so important to them? What do they like? What they don't like? What is their objections? What do they associate it with? Like the whole why, especially when it comes to the type of pain that it solves. So the tip that Martin, that the way he built the survey was like really amazing, because so simple, typical Google style, super simple but extremely effective. And the one tip that pivoted the creation of that survey, because building survey is very difficult, it's an art, was actually to keep the first surveys all open-ended questions. Open-ended questions. Why? And for me, even was like, what do you mean, like open-ended question? Why would someone even bother? because you don't have patterns. If you restrict users with only 5 like options and or others, you restrict them. You bias their mind. And at the beginning, you don't have enough data to put patterns in place. You can only put bullet points, like, you know, the selection points, only once you have collected enough data from your early adopter to say, okay, pretty much you see 3 groups of people. People that want this because it moisturize your skin, 2 because it makes you look younger, 3 because it helps against inflammation. And then you can say, what are your expectations for your product? Inflammation, anti-age, hydration, others. In that case, it makes sense. But at the beginning, you don't know because you need to collect that data. So open-ended question is the key to build amazing surveys. Hope it helped answer.
Okay, I'm going to go to the next question. We sell
Sure.
food events. Can you give us a good hack to sell our events?
Selling events, perfect. Events, it's even easier. These are, I assume now they're offline events or online events.
It's a Q&A, so I'm not sure. So
okay.
Food related, so food events.
Okay.
So maybe people can buy even through online.
Okay, so for events, what's super important is the testimonial of the participants, because you want people to sign up and you want the participants to, you don't have to sell the event. Who sells the event is the previous participants that sell the event for the next participant. So you need to remove yourself from the equation. So what really drives people to events is word of mouth, recommendation, testimonials. So focus, go super heavy on testimonials and reviews of the event. This is the key. And then you can run those reviews, those testimonials, etc., as ads.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one. It's from one of our charter members. We sell insurance online. We have had relatively good success in reaching owners of personal vehicles using FB and Instagram. We now would like to reach out to owners of commercial vehicles, pickups, trucks, buses, etc. Which medium do you think we should use?
So for B2B in general, while you can be very successful, and we've run a lot of campaigns for very successful campaigns for insurance companies, especially here in Dubai, very big insurance companies. Basically, what we've seen is that there are 2 ways. One is like the pure lead gen game, lead generation. If it's a B2B for mid-size, mid-market companies, the best thing is through what we call B2B growth hacking. It's like our playbook, where basically we build outreach lists based on psychographic behavioral data. So there are some different automation integration where we use some tools to understand a list of prospect. We build we scrape a list of prospect emails. We understand who that person is. So we have integration to understand their psychographics. They understand like how they behave, their behavioral map, or all of that stuff that you can check with a tool called Crystal Nose. And then we automate a sequence to reach out to them in a way that is very personalized. The more personalized it is the outreach, the better rate of closures you will have, the more meetings you have. The only problem with insurance is that if you're trying to do it, it depends, because if you do it for businesses, so it's a B2B insurance businesses, then in that case you can go with B2B growth hacking. If it's a pure consumer play that you need to reach like consumers, like small business owners, and you need to like really have like a critical scale, then in that case it also makes sense to go with Instagram ads and Facebook ads and whatnot. And that what's the most important with Instagram ads, Facebook ads, and all of that is the creative. I remember we did a creative of a series of you don't need an insurance until you need one. And all the creatives that we've built them with very, very funny videos of like not car accidents, but like stupid car accidents. Like basically someone opening the door and the door would just come out, and you're like, you don't need an insurance until you need one. Or basically a rhino that ran into a car, then the end line was like, you don't need an insurance until you need one. And so on. So build a concept, make it fun, because at the end of the day, social media is never meant to sell. Social media is meant to entertain. So with your ads, especially at the top of the funnel, the first time you touch base with your prospects, with your customers, you need to entertain them, not to sell to them. If you salesy at the beginning, I mean, nobody wants to be sold, right? When was the last time you liked someone to come and, hey man, buy this? Like, no, like, I don't know you. You need to build that relationship, that narrative. Hope it helps.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm also going to launch a poll so we find out how we take the testimonials from our audience now. Please share your comments, if any. And Nelio, are you willing to share your slides with the audience?
Unfortunately, we can't share them because it's not my only work. It's the work of a collective, and so yeah. So as a in order to avoid dispersing this kind of information, we tend to not share the slides.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
That's fine. We have a majority of people saying they found it very valuable.
But there's one person that says somewhat. So I'm really curious to know who is that person.
Yeah, so we're happy to take in comments. That's our testimonial for the next event. Maybe we
Awesome.
can do one last question. Okay, quick one. Was any R&D done shared to prove the effectiveness of camel milk cream? I think what you showed is a sample. Did you guys do some sort of an R&D to actually?
Yeah, actually was tested both in the UAE and and as well in Europe. So we tested in both countries to have both certifications, and it was we had the R&D to prove the efficacy. We tested it. We tested it on different type of skin types, etc. Yeah, we needed to test because you can't launch a skincare legally if you don't have those testing in place.
Okay, so we're on time and I think we'll wind up. I just want to quickly share the screen for our next event. It's going to be on this Wednesday and I'm sure it's going to be interesting. We have the CEO of Love in Dubai, Love in Saudi. We have a doctor. They will all share their personal stories. All of them are Ironmen, triathletes, and how they balance life and work. Wishing everybody a good evening and thank you very, very much, Nelio. I think it was a wonderful session and I'm sure
Thank you.
Many found it valuable and they have our emails. You have our email when you registered. So if you need to connect back for anything, we are happy to support. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you very much. Take care.